हेलो माधव. अरे माधव అని వచ్చింది. అరే మాధవ్ రెడ్డి అని జాయిన్ అవుతుంది.
Okay, so hello everyone and good morning. Okay, this is Mitali from Complete Open Source Solution. I am the Red Hat certified engineer and instructor of course. I have more than 8 years experience in Linux and open source technology. As my favorite distribution is Red Hat Enterprise Linux, I did my certification on Red Hat Enterprise Linux 6 on the year 2014. I upgrade on a recent version that is RHEL 8. Uh, Please go mute. All of you, please go mute. So I did my certification on Red Hat Enterprise Linux 6 on the year 2014. In 2021, I upgrade on RHEL 8. This is the latest version of Red Hat Enterprise Linux to take the training to the next level. Including this, I have completed my certification on automation tool Ansible and Puppet. Also be a part of that training and delivery. I just exposed to the Red Hat OpenStack Cloud as well and certified on the version 10. Uh, Last but not the least, since 3 years, I am delivering the training on OpenShift container platform. In 2017, I exposed to the OpenShift container platform 3.5 version. Then I completed my certification in OpenShift 3.9. Next, I upgraded on OpenShift version 4.2 and version 4.5. These are my journey, and I am just delivering the training on OpenShift container platform and automation toolset, Ansible, Puppet. I just makes my hand dirty on Docker, Kubernetes. These are the tools also. These orchestration tool, container management tool. I am just delivering the training on regular basis, I can say. Uh, and I enrolled as a trainer in this platform. As per my personal life goes, I have been blessed with a beautiful family, husband and one daughter. On a side note, I love to play chess with my daughter and listen to the music. This is all about my introduction. Before starting the session, let me present the slide in front of you. Are you able to see my screen? Can anyone else confirm?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So let me present it. So we all are together here to learn the OpenShift. So first we have to know what exactly OpenShift is. So in my slide, I just make a tagline below this OpenShift word. OpenShift is a better way to develop and deploy the containerized application. So I just make a tagline that better way to develop and deploy containerized application. So first we all have to know what is containers and what is containerized application. Then we have to use the OpenShift as a platform to develop and deploy this container application. So in my slide, I include the objective is we are going through what exactly OpenShift is, why we have to learn OpenShift, what is the architecture and components, declarative architecture and the components of OpenShift architecture, what are the resources of OpenShift, and what are the driving factors. Okay, so these are the course or objective. Next, I come to the slide. Red Hat OpenShift is an enterprise open source container orchestration platform. It's a software product that includes the components of Kubernetes container management project, but adds the productivity and security feature that are important to the large scale companies. So whatever the definition I made in my slide, I just elaborate that one. Prior to that, I just make you understand before joining this course curriculum, what are the prerequisites? So the prerequisites for this DO 280 training, either you have to complete the Red Hat OpenShift 1, or it's not mandatory you have to be certified, but yes, I am going to say here Now DO 180 certification is also available. That is nothing but the basic of the containers. Earlier we are using the container management tool Docker, but now we are using in the containers Kubernetes in OpenShift admin, OpenShift admin 1 course, DO 180 course. We have to explore more about the containers. You are able to create the Docker files. You have to expose to the container management technology, that is nothing but Podman. And next to that, all of you must be Red Hat certified administrator or have equivalent knowledge on that. Okay, Linux EX200 paper, if you certified, that's great. Even if you are not certified also, you are a system administrator, your fundamentals and basic Linux commands, you are hands-on experience on this technology. So next I have to go to the next slide. What is container? So before moving to develop and deploying the container application in OpenShift, we have to understand OpenShift. Prior to that, we all in this forum have to know what exactly container is. I want the answer from the audience, how you interpret what exactly the container is. Before the containers comes into the market, how we are developing or deploying our application on traditional operating system. Any idea what exactly this container is? Not any definition, what you understand. Anyone, please.
Yeah, the traditional application would what we'll do that we will install our WebSphere or JBoss application in the virtual VMware. We will install it in the VMware and run the application. But when a container will become that, it will be isolated. It won't depend on your OS. It will be independent. So that is the more important here. Container will be more because it's not dependent in your OS. It will, yeah, definitely it will kernel will be dependent with that, but it's not OS dependency. So for example, currently when the system server will be restarted, it will start the app, it will take long time to get up the server. But here container will be there, minimum OS requirement will be used and start the container, it will be within the minutes. So that's the main which I observe that.
Yes, absolutely fine. Mahesh, thank you. You just for your quick response and whatever you understand, I say it's absolutely fine. Uh, okay, let me explain. Okay, what Mahesh is telling. I just show you a picture. Let me go to and open that picture of containers, traditional operating system. Then we will compare easily. Let me take you to that slide. Yes. Let me increase the font. Hope it is clear to all of you. Okay. So before the containers comes into the market, how the software applications, let's say you are, I am just in this slide, one traditional operating system is there. So software applications are typically, there is two application is running, application 1 and application 2. So software applications are typically depend on other libraries, configuration file or services that are provided by the runtime environment. The traditional runtime environment for the software application is a physical host, or as Mahesh said, it is a virtual machine, VMware. Okay, so application is a physical host or a virtual machine, and application dependencies are installed as part of the host operating system. So before you are running any application, okay, on the host operating system, okay, so software application depend on other libraries and configuration file or services that are provided by their runtime environment. For example, you can consider a Python application that require access to a common shared library that implements on TLS protocol. Let's say my application 1, okay, is a Python application. Okay, it implements on a TLS protocol. Traditionally, a system administrator install the required package, and you all of you know how to install the package, RPM tool or yum package manager tool or a DNF tool that provides the shared library before installing the Python application. The major drawback of traditionally deployed software application is that the application dependency is entangled with the runtime environment, and application may break when any updates or patches is done with the base operating system. Okay, so here the major drawback you can say when traditionally deployed software application is that application dependencies are entangled with the runtime environment, and application is break when any update or patches are applied to the base operating system. For example, I can say the OS update to the TLS AR library. Remove the TLS 1.0 as a supported protocol. This breaks the deployed Python application. Already my application one Python application is deployed, but if I am doing any OS update with the TLS AR library, moving the TLS 1.0 as a sort of as a supported protocol. Okay, so this forces the system administrator to roll back the operating system update to keep the application running and prevent other application from using the benefits of the updated package. Okay, so therefore a company developing a traditional software application may require a full set of tests to guarantee that an OS update doesn't affect the application running on the host. And this is very difficult to manage. Now I move to the slide containers. Before moving to the slide, see here in this picture, let me let me control minus minus. Okay, see here. Okay, so in this picture I just comparing the traditional processes, okay, containers and virtualization. So traditional process, you understood that it is depend on the host operating system. Okay, next we are moving towards the virtualized environment. Virtualized environment is nothing but on top of single operating system, you can run multiple operating system simultaneously, and this operating system is isolated from the host operating system. How this operating system isolation done? With the help of VM hypervisor, or you can use VMware, or you can use Oracle VirtualBox. So what is the difference between virtualization and containers? So containers, if you can see the picture, the difference you can observe. Virtual machine, what it will do? It will install one operating system, configure one guest operating system on top of your host operating system. But in case of containers, you can see it is sharing the operating system layer. What is your application dependency libraries? What to run your application? What are the required libraries, dependency, binaries? Okay, all the configuration things it will carry itself. Okay, while running on top of any host environment. Suppose you can say either in the physical machine, or you can say on top of the virtual machine, or you can say host operating system terminology, you can say any private or public cloud based instance, you can run your containerized application. So this way you can differentiate. The container is nothing but the virtualization of application instead of hardware. Okay, in the virtualization we are installing a guest operating system, on top of that we are running our complete operating system, or we can run, so there is more load in your base operating system. But containers are isolated application runtime, created very little overhead, and it doesn't require a dedicated CPU, memory, network managed base operating system. It optimizes the infrastructure speed and density. So while you are defining the container, you can define the container in three perspectives. As a operating system perspective, what is the definition? As a operating system perspective, how I define a container? As a operating system perspective, container is nothing but a process. Container is nothing but a process running inside the sandbox, and the container processes are isolated from the host operating system. Host operating system terminology refers to your physical host, or your virtual host, or any private and public cloud based instance. So how this isolation is takes place with the kernel feature namespace. Namespace will do the isolation. So you can define as a operating system perspective, container is just a process. Container is just a process is running inside the sandbox, and container processes are isolated from your host operating system with the help of namespace. Okay, so namespace will do the isolation. So what it will do the isolation? Yes, if I run a container in host operating system, what isolation it will do? Namespace will do the isolation of the container process. Means your process ID, you can say interprocess communication, your container network, or you can say Unix time sharing, or you can say mount the namespace. So these all processes are isolated from your host operating system with the help of namespace. And who will manage the container resources? Who will manage the container resources like your CPU, memory usage, storage management? All are done with the feature called control group or C group. And the security is provided to the container with the help of what? Secure enhanced Linux or security compatibility, SECOM security. So this way, as a operating system perspective, you can define what a container is. Let's I come to the next thing, as a system admin perspective. How I can define as a system admin perspective what a container is. So as a system admin perspective, container is nothing but an application. Okay, application in the sense container is just an application. So what is application? Either it is a Java application, Perl, PHP, Ruby, any database application like your PostgreSQL, okay, or Node.js, any middleware application. Someone is saying some Java application, JBoss middleware application. So container is nothing but, as a system admin perspective, container is nothing but an application. Okay, you can run the application on your host operating system. Means you can run your application on a physical OS or in the virtual machine, or you can run your containerized application on top of any public or private cloud like your AWS, OpenStack Cloud, Microsoft Azure. Okay, you can run your containerized application. Due to the container is consuming very low footprint hardware as compared to your virtualization, so it is easy to build and ship your application to anywhere. Okay, so portability is the beauty of the container. As a system admin perspective, while you are defining it's a application, and portability is the beauty of container. You can build and ship your application anytime, anywhere, any platform you can run your containerized application. Next, I am going to define the container as a developer perspective, because we are all are working with the operating system perspective. You can define it is a process. As a system admin perspective, you can define it as an application. But as a developer perspective, how to build, how to run the containers, how to build the container image, how to define the source code, how to define the source code, what are the dependency, how to write the Docker files, how I have to manage the containers using using the Open Container Initiative or container runtime engine. That as a developer perspective, how to define the code dependency, you have to define container. Okay, so developer perspective, you can define how we are packaging the application, so that from a particular container image, it's a read-only immutable entity, I can run my containers on top of platform, any platform. Clear? So this is the definition of containers. Is it fine?
Yeah, it's good. Thanks.
Okay. Yes, Prashant, session is recorded. So next I have to move to the next slide. Okay. So before starting this OpenShift, what exactly OpenShift is? Why we have to learn OpenShift? Containers we can manage with the Docker. Some of the administrators say that Docker is a container tools. So why OpenShift and why you are using in the first definition? If you observe, when I am defining OpenShift, I wrote over there Red Hat OpenShift is an enterprise open source container orchestration platform. So I'm mentioning enterprise term, I'm mentioning orchestration platform. A word is orchestration. It's a software product that includes the component of the Kubernetes. So one terminology I add, Kubernetes container management project. So what exactly OpenShift we what we have to learn in this course curriculum? So in this course curriculum we have to learn the high level overview of what OpenShift is. So OpenShift is a Red Hat open source container application platform for developing and hosting enterprise grade application of various cloud computing model. So OpenShift is Red Hat platform as a service offering. There are three types of service you can say: infrastructure as a service, software as a service, or you can say service as a service, and third one is the platform as a service. So OpenShift is Red Hat platform as a service offering. Once deployed OpenShift, okay, OpenShift itself take care of managing the underlying infrastructure components, thereby enabling the developer they do what they can do best. Okay, so it's just a platform as a service offering of Red Hat. So once it is deployed, OpenShift take care of the underlying infrastructure component and enabling the developers they do what they can do best. Okay, so in this course curriculum of OpenShift, we have to, this is a 3 days of training, 9 to 5 is going to be scheduled on 15 May, and including your lunch break and lab practice hour. So what we have to cover in these 3 days of training, we have to describe Red Hat OpenShift container platform in details, each and what is the architecture, what are the component, how it is different from the Kubernetes, what are the Kubernetes resources, what are the OpenShift resources. Next we have to discuss the verifying cluster, means we have to health check of your node. You have to, if any image is not available to deploy your application, that we have to, how we have to troubleshoot, what is the registry server we are using, how to check my application, what is the region of application failure, how I have to check the logs, that we have to cover in the, and how to manage the storage in the container storage persistently, how we can manage, how we can get the storage manually and dynamically, we have to cover in this part of day one training. Then we have to discuss the authentication method. So I have to, in my architecture, you people somehow know about the terminology about the authentication and the architectural component of OpenShift. So various authentication methods are there to log into the cluster: LDAP, keystone authentication method, HT password method, OAuth is the default authentication. So we have to cover that authentication HT password in the uh, training of day one. Next we have to, in day two we have to manage the resources. We have to get the control of role based access control, and we have to discuss about the secret and config map in the day two of schedule. Then we are more stretch about what is exactly which type of networking OpenShift is using, because what is the problem in the Docker networking, what is the problem in the port mapping or port forwarding method what we are using in as a Linux administrator, and what is software defined networking, what is the ingress rule, what is network policy we have to apply in our networking, how to create a secure route, that we have to cover in the day two of training. Next we have to discuss about the pod scheduling, how we have to, what are the algorithm, what is taint tolerations, and we have to discuss the affinity rule, anti-affinity rule, and check the quota limit ranges of the resources. We have to complete that part in the day two of training. Next, third day, we have to just scaling an OpenShift cluster. We have to discuss about the manual scale and auto scale with the HPA resource, horizontal pod autoscaler, and how we have to do the how we have to do manually with the deployment config edit or deployment resource edit, how to do the auto scaling with allocating the resource request and CPU memory as such. Next, we have to discuss, this is completely theory, we are not having practical session for cluster update, but yes, now the latest version, all of you know that 4.7 version. So for the 4.7 version, how they are using the cluster update, what is the different channel for cluster update, stable channel or other channel, we have to discuss over here. Just not practical, rest all the chapters are having the practical, and we have going through the over the air update cluster updates portion covered here. Next, we have to manage not with the OC command line utility, we have to expose ourselves because it's the production Kubernetes in and OpenShift course, so we have to discuss how to manage the cluster using the web console. So these are the 3 days of training schedule. Okay, 9 chapters are there, each day we have to cover 9 to 5 schedule, and after that we have to conduct one exam orientation session, as it is a learning with certification program. Next slide I have to move. So before I am discussing, let me take you to the architecture slide. Okay, so this is the architecture of OpenShift. In the OpenShift architecture, you can say, what is, if anyone asks that what is the difference between Kubernetes and OpenShift, so I put an analogy here, like you can imagine car versus engine. So Kubernetes is the engine or framework or project, you can say, that drives the OpenShift. OpenShift is the complete car or is the complete product, you can say, that gets you where you want to. Okay, so you want to deploy where the application, that it will go with the help of this OpenShift. Okay, and you can define, you can differentiate like your Linux kernel and Linux distribution. So Kubernetes is the kernel of the distributed system, but OpenShift is the distribution of that focuses on the experience of both the developers and administrator. So under the hood of OpenShift, Kubernetes is working. Under the hood of OpenShift, Kubernetes is working. And in the OpenShift architecture, you can observe two nodes are there. One is called master node and second one is called the worker node. So what exactly this two node? Suppose some of you are you are working in the automation tool Ansible. In the Ansible architecture, you people understand one node is control node and one nodes are the managed host. Okay, similarly in the OpenShift cluster architecture, so it is a set of physical or virtual machine and other infrastructure resources, and there are two types of node in the OpenShift cluster. One is called the master node and second one is called the worker node. So master node is nothing but a node that hosts all the control plane components to manage your cluster. Let's say I'm just giving one example. Let me draw a diagram so that it is easy to understand. Now suppose in our forum, one developer or one system administrator interested to deploy the application in the OpenShift container platform. So what you have to do? First is what you have to do? You have to, now your job is, platform is ready, you want to deploy the application. How you are, what are the steps you have to follow? Yes, just because in my definition I say OpenShift is nothing but what? It is a Red Hat platform as a service offering. Once it is deployed, OpenShift will take care for managing the underlying infrastructure and components, and thereby enabling the developers they do what they can do best. Okay, so for that, first your job is what? You have to log into the cluster. How you are log into the cluster? Can you directly log into the cluster? Yes or no? What are the steps I have to follow? Any idea? Anyone want to say? Yes? No one? Yes, please. Yes. Suppose
Login master
I
node.
okay, I want to log into the cluster first. Okay, so users usually interact with the when you want to log into the cluster, you must be a authenticated user. You are not a anonymous user to log into the cluster. You are a authenticated user. What is authentication? What is authorization? That we have to elaborate in depth in our course curriculum. So what you have to do, users usually interact with the API server. Now you can see in the picture in the master node components. Master node in OpenShift architecture that contains all the control plane components. So first component is API server. So what exactly that API server? Users usually interact with the API server is the only interface where we developer and system administrator communicate with the master. Once we make the communication to create a container, so how you are creating a container? For that, one container image is required. From where you are getting that container image? Either from the registry server, like you are exposed to the Docker registry server, any public or private registry server, or registry.redhat.io or qa.io, that are the integrated registry in our OpenShift architecture. Okay, so first your job is you have to log into the cluster, and user usually interact. Let me represent this slide. Okay, so user usually interact with the API server. It is the only interface where the developers and system administrator can communicate with the master. Once we make the communication to create a container, then the API server instantly create a desired state of configuration where? In the etcd. So once you are sharing, yes, I have to run a container, I am a developer, I am coming with the request, I just contact to the API server. Immediately API server instantly create a desired state of configuration in the etcd. etcd is the database. Etcd is itself a container. It is the database where all the configuration requirement are stored. Instantly the controller comes to know that there is a new desired state requirement has come up. Next, once the configuration state is updated in the etcd, then the controller comes to know a new desired state of requirement has come up. Then the controller communicates with the scheduler that which one is the best node. Okay, which one is the best system to orchestrate my container. So scheduler will decide where your application will run, where your application is going to be deployed. You cannot say, so two nodes are there, master node where we are running all the control plane components like your API server, etcd, control manager or scheduler. But where I have to run the containerized application? On the worker node, or you can say compute node. Compute node, the applications are run on top of the compute node, or in the, you can say, worker node. So what is the control plane components? So one component is API server. API server is nothing but it is running in the master node. It is responsible for orchestrating all the operation in the cluster. It exposes the Kubernetes API, which is used by the external user to perform the management operation on the cluster, as well as the various controllers to monitor the state of the cluster and to make the necessary changes as required by the worker node and communicate to the server. So our need, everything in the container is compatible. So everything is controlled. You can do, so the orchestration is responsible by with the help of this API server. Next component is what? Control manager. So what is the use of this control manager? So controllers are available to take care of different area. Like node controller take care of the node if the node become unavailable. Suppose I want to do some drain on, or I have to do some patchwork. I want to take my node under maintenance. So node is become, when once the node is become unavailable or get destroyed, okay, so the node controller manager will take care of the nodes, okay. It continuously monitor your status of your node. Similarly, replication controller is there. It will always assure that the desired number of containers are running at all the time, because our job is what? Our OpenShift container platform, our applications are running in a high availability mode, okay. It will not goes down. So if I am saying that my application, I have to clone 5 application, and that 5 application is running the entire duration, at any point of time one application or one pod goes down, so replication controller manager will take care that a desired number of count means 5 containers are running at all time. Next is what? Scheduler. Next component is what? Scheduler. So scheduler, you cannot decide that yes, my application is run in this node. Suppose you have to run one application that is record the resources of 5 GB, but your node is having 3 GB. Can you deploy the application on that particular node? If your application is requirement age resource requirement is 5 GB, but your node is providing 3 GB, can you schedule your application on that particular node? You
No.
cannot. So who will decide? I'm not saying placing, not my point here. I'm saying scheduler will decide where to schedule, but kubelet will place the pods in the node. So scheduler is a component in the master node, or you can say it is a control plane component used to identify the container need to place on which node based on its size, its capacity, how many containers are already running in that particular node, okay. So this scheduler will identify the right node to place the container based on its container resource requirement and the worker node capacity, any other policy and constraint. We have to elaborate what is node affinity rules, what is the performance of the node, etc. By using that, scheduler will decide where your application is run, where you have to run your containerized application in which particular worker node. Last but not the least, next is what? etcd. So etcd is a database that stores the value in a key value format, okay. It stores the value in the key value format. It store your resource definition. Like you can say, we have to discuss all the OpenShift resources. Let's say pod, your deployment config, your build config, your replication controller, service resources, everything is, all the resource definition stored in a database in a key value format, that is called etcd. That's why the default file format you are using in OpenShift is YAML or JSON file format. Next, I come to the worker node. These all are what? Master node or control plane components. Next, I come to the worker node. You can see in the picture, in worker node, two components are running. One is kubelet, another is CRI, container runtime initiative. So what exactly the kubelet? What is kubelet? So kubelet is an agent that run on each node in the cluster for, so what it will do? Kubelet is an agent that run in each node in the cluster. It listens the instruction. So kubelet listens the instruction from the kube API server, because scheduler cannot directly communicate with kubelet, and kubelet cannot directly communicate with any of the control plane components. So how the master and worker node communication takes place? So Kubelet is an agent that runs on each node in a cluster. It listens for the instruction from the Kube API server and deploy or destroy the container on the node when it is required. And Kube API server fetch the status report periodically from the kubelet to monitor the status of the node and the containers on them. So regularly the master node and worker node, the interaction between the Kube API server and kubelet is takes place. So kubelet is an agent. It will run in the each worker node, or you can say compute node of the cluster. It listens the instruction from the Kube API server, and according to that it will place the pod in the desired node. And always the API server also fetches the status report periodically from the kubelet, okay, to monitor the status of the node and the containers on them. Next to that, CRI-O. What is CRI-O? What is CRI-O? Container Runtime Initiative. Yes. What is CRI-O? Or yes. Yes, please.
You want a king?
Wow.
Please go mute. Please go mute. Those who are not participating. Yes. So what exactly this CRI-O is? Yes. Any idea what is CRI-O or any container runtime initiative? So the CRI-O is an implementation of Kubernetes container runtime interface to enable using the open container initiative compatible runtimes. So CRI-O can use any container runtime that satisfy the CRI, like you say runc or used by the Docker service, or you can say libpod used by the podman, or you can say rocket from the core operating system. Earlier version of OpenShift, to deploy any application we are dependent on the Docker. But now onwards, when the OpenShift 4 is released, we are not depending on only on Docker. Okay, various open container initiative are supported with the container runtime interface, like you can say your Docker, or you can say your podman, LXC, or rocket, drawbridge. Okay, so that's using that you can run your containerized application on top of your OpenShift. Okay, next is what? Proxy. One proxy server is there. If you want to communicate from node to node, then you have to configure the network using this kube proxy utility. So these are the components of your OpenShift. Clear? This architecture, master or worker node, any component, if you are not understood, you can ask me. Is it fine to move next?
Yeah, I have a question, but OpenShift 4.5 will be still supporting the Docker, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
Rocket.
yes.
Okay, but
Still it is.
but by default it will come with the Podman.
Yes, by default it is coming with the Podman. And what is the difference between Docker and Podman? I will elaborate. Okay, so Docker, if you are exposed to Docker, Docker is what? It's a you can say Docker is a you once you are running a Docker, it is not a daemonless architecture. You have to restart the daemon like any other service unit, like your HTTPD or SSHD. If any changes you have to make, you have to systemctl restart. With the systemctl you have to interact with the Docker daemon. Okay, but there is no such thing in Podman. Okay, in the Podman is nothing but similar as a Docker tool and innovated by Red Hat in the recent version. So the basic difference, you can say, Podman is the daemonless container engine for developing and managing and running the open container runtime initiative. And on your Linux system, containers can either be run as a root or in the rootless mode as well. Okay, so Podman is a utility provided as a part of the libpod library. It can be used to create and maintain the containers. Okay, so in the RHEL 8 course, that Podman utility, and DO 180 course also, the Podman utility, how to create the Docker file, they are just introduced. Okay, so basic difference is, you can say Docker is a server client architecture or a daemon architecture. Podman is daemonless, and Docker, you can say root is by default. Podman is rootless, can be run by the root or any non-privileged user, and can manage the pods. The Podman can manage the pods, one or more container. Pod is nothing but one or more container, multiple containers it can manage, but Docker cannot manage the pods, and it is more secure. And Docker is less secure, if you can ask the next difference. And next you can say there is a different storage path, but what are the command line utility? It is approximately, not approximately, I can say fully same as the Docker. Just you replace the word what you are using in the Docker to log into the registry. Docker login command. To push the container image to the registry, you are using Docker push command. To get the image, Docker pull command. Just replace with a keyword called Podman. Okay, it's just like your yum repository. Nothing background daemon is running. It's a completely daemonless architecture. Fine.
Yeah. And without OpenShift, I can run the Podman, because how the Docker Compose will be work,
Yes.
right? Here also.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So everything you can do in a CentOS 8 machine also you have. Okay. In the RHEL operating system you can just install like your individual RPM. Yum install podman -y. Like you are installing other software, you can just install yum install podman -y, and you can get the facility. Same. How to verify the images? Okay. Docker images, just you replace the word with podman images. Okay.
Got it.
Docker pull, podman pull. This is just only the difference.
Got it.
Okay,
Thanks.
fine. So now I just compare so that you can, this is the architecture of OpenShift 4. And
So this
I
is
am,
like also like in Docker also we have a register, right? The same like Podman also register also is it?
yes. So you
Like
have to Docker not having registry. Docker is what? Docker is, students are thinking Docker is a container. No, Docker and Podman is a tool to manage the container images. Docker and Podman are the tool to managing the container images, to build the container images. Okay, so to tag the image. So from where we are getting the image, and what is container image? First you have to know. Container image is an immutable entity having its all dependencies, binaries, configuration settings bundled with that container image. And that image is available where? Like our packages. As a system admin, where we are from where we are getting our softwares. We are mounting our ISO image file, or we are configuring a repo. Yes or no? Similarly, to run a container, where we are getting the containers are running from the container image. That container image you are getting from the registry server. What are the registry server? Like you can use any public registry server. So using the Docker tool or Podman tool. Podman and Docker are the tool to manage the container images. You are getting the images from the docker.io, registry.io. These are the public registry, or you can use your organization private registry, or you can configure one local registry. Any virtual machine you configure as a local registry and get the container image, run the image using the Docker command or Podman command. Clear?
Madam,
Is it fine?
a slide, madam, for the differences between Docker, Kubernetes, container, Podman. It will be for us.
Yes.
Too much of theory, right? As we are not coming from such background, it will be difficult for us to understand.
Yes. That's why I'm saying prerequisites for this course each. You must have to know the basics of containers. Okay, so let me check if I have the container slide. Okay, so traditional Docker. This is the slide you can understand the Docker. Okay, but in our course curriculum, I will explain. Okay, the basic thing directly. If you join DO280, you cannot understand. Some prerequisites are there for this course, and this is the architecture of Docker. Once you are typing the Docker command, okay, so the Docker daemon is at the background. The Docker daemon is running, and you can get the container image, or you are interacting with run the containers. You are getting the image from the registry server, and you can manage the Docker CLI. But if you are seeing the image for Podman, Podman is a Red Hat tool, okay, to manage the containers. It can directly, you no need to run any daemon. It's a daemonless architecture, as I said. So it is directly interact with your image registry. So you must have to create an account in the public registry like Docker IO, or if you have RHN ID and password, you can use the registry.redhat.io registry to get any type of image, HTTPD image, any container image, okay. So to run your containerized application directly with the help of Podman, okay. And you have to elaborate all the things. Either you have to complete the RHCSA module of your RHEL Enterprise Linux 8, or you have to go with what? DO 180, Basics of Containers and Kubernetes course, DO 180. Then this is the seminar or webinar on DO 280 course, okay. And I am explaining this architecture, and just you compare the older version architecture. Let me show you. Let me check that I have or not. OpenShift 3.9. Are you able to see the picture? This is the old architecture of OpenShift. So can you observe where you are installing the Red Hat OpenShift in the up to 3.11 version on Red Hat Enterprise Linux? On top of that, to what is the image packaging tool you are using? You are using the Docker. You cannot use any other tool like your LXC, Rocket, Drawbridge, any container runtime. It will not support up to 3 version of OpenShift, okay. But if you can compare this architecture now, okay, so where our master node is running on top of Red Hat Core OS. Now next thing you can ask me, what is Red Hat Core OS? Can I run my OpenShift version 4 on the Red Hat Enterprise Linux? No, never. The mandatory operating system to run the OpenShift master node or control plane components on top of Red Hat Core OS, okay. The base operating system is Red Hat Core OS. Red Hat Core OS is a Linux distribution focused on providing an immutable operating system for container execution. This is nothing but a container Linux. You must have to install your master node in Red Hat Core OS. Earlier, we are using the only tool is Docker to get the container images and deploy our application. But now in OpenShift 4, it is supported the CRI-O. CRI-O is an implementation of Kubernetes container runtime interface to enable using the Open Container Initiative compatible runtimes. CRI-O can be used any container runtime. Like you can say it will manage the, if you are using container runtime initiative runc, it is used by the Docker service. If you are using the Podman, then CRI-O is giving the libpod, or if you are using the core operating system, you can get the support of what? Rocket, okay. So next, on top of that, what is the use of Kubernetes? Kubernetes is the container orchestration and management tool. Means Kubernetes manage the under the hood of OpenShift. Under the hood of OpenShift, Kubernetes is the management and orchestrator tool. Means Kubernetes manages a cluster of hosts, physical or virtual, that run the containers. It uses the resources that describe multi-container application composed of multiple resources and how they interconnect. Means if your container die, how I have to automatically, if a container die, how I have automatically scale up my application, how I have to monitor the health of the cluster. So how I orchestrate and manage my nodes, manage my application pods in the container in the OpenShift platform with the help of what? Kubernetes. Next is what? etcd. etcd is nothing but it will store. etcd is a distributed key value store used by Kubernetes to store the configuration and state of the information, okay, about the containers and other resources inside the Kubernetes cluster. Suppose you can say your pod, your node, your replication controller. These things we are elaborate each and every component in our training session. What exactly the OpenShift? What is pod? I don't know what is node. You are explaining master node and worker node. How, what is infra node in OpenShift? So all the resource definition, you can say pod, node, deployment, replication controller, image stream, all the resource definition stored in a key value format in the etcd. Next is what? Custom resource definition. So new thing is introduced in OpenShift 4, that is nothing but operator. Operator is what? Custom resource definitions are the resource type that stored in etcd and managed by the Kubernetes. These resource types from the state and configuration, all the resources are managed by the OpenShift. So this CRD is nothing but now the new feature operators comes into the picture. I will demonstrate this regarding this operator in my course curriculum. Another PPT or presentation slide I have to put in front of you to understand depth of what exactly operators in OpenShift 4. And on top of that, architecture, containerized services. What is containerized services? It fulfill many platform as a service infrastructure function such as networking, authorization, and you can say Red Hat OpenShift Container Platform uses the basic container infrastructure from the Kubernetes and underlying container runtime to for the most internal function. Suppose from where you are getting the image. What is the image registry? Are you using any public registry or you are using the integrated registry available in Red Hat OpenShift, or you are using any private registry? What is the authentication method? How you are logging to the cluster? What is the networking you are using in the OpenShift cluster? So these all are managed on the master node. Next is what? Runtime and XPath services. Runtime and XPath are the base container images ready-made, okay, ready for the use by the developer. Each is pre-configured with a particular runtime language and database. So XPath is a service offering a set of images Red Hat middleware products such as JBoss EAP and ActiveMQ. So Red Hat OpenShift application runtimes are the set of runtimes that optimized for a cloud native application in OpenShift. These application runtimes are available Red Hat JBoss EAP, OpenJDK, or you can say Eclipse, Vortex, Spring Boot, and Node.js, etc. And how we are running and deploying our application? Either with the command line utility, that is OC, OpenShift client, or you are deploying your application on the web console, or you can say in the dashboard, or you can configure the REST API, or it is auto configured with what? Source control management tool, that is nothing but what? Version control system, Git. On top of that, Red Hat OpenShift is placed. Clear? Okay, so these are the demonstration of each and every component, and this is the OpenShift and Kubernetes architecture. Okay, this is the architecture of relate. If you can explain more, OpenShift and Kubernetes architecture, 3 nodes are there: master node, worker node, and infra node. What is master node? Can anyone just revert back what you understood, what exactly master node in the OpenShift architecture? Because architecture understanding is very, very important. What is the master node in OpenShift architecture? Yes.
Yeah, this is Mahesh here. Actually, master node will be used for controlling your whole OpenShift because, for example, your node scheduler will be managing the scheduler, controller will be there controlling where you have to schedule the worker node, and for it's like a your centralization. Everything will be managed from master node. When your API will be called, it will connect to the master node. Then it will communicate it with the pod in backend, and like the scheduler will be scheduled that, and the HCD database where you have the database information of the, for example, example one pod when died. So those information will be there in the controller. Those are like, it's like a master node have everything information about
Exactly.
your whole OpenShift. If the master node
Exactly.
died and you can't manage anything, so
Yes. So a master node in a single definition, you can say master node is a node server that manages the control plane in Kubernetes cluster. Master node provide basic cluster service such as API, controller, scheduler, and etcd. That etcd is represented here data store. These all four static pods are running in on top of your master node, and master node must be installed on which operating system? Red Hat Core OS. Okay, OpenShift 4 master node you have to install on Red Hat Core OS. Next is coming to the worker node. Worker node is also named as the compute node. So worker nodes execute the workloads for the cluster. Application pods or applications are scheduled onto the worker node. Next, another picture in this diagram, infra node. What is exactly this infra node? So infra node is a node server containing the infrastructure services. For example, like your monitoring, what are the monitoring services? By default in OpenShift 4, the Prometheus is installed. You no need to install any extra metric subsystem. But if you want to use any other monitoring tool, like here Prometheus, earlier version we are using Cassandra, Hipster, Hokular. Okay, so that you have to configure in which node server? In the infra node. Not only monitoring and logging, if you want to configure the external routing, you have to configure in the infra node. Okay, and as the container storage, if you understand the basics of containers, you just remember a point here. Container storage is always ephemeral. Ephemeral in the sense it's temporary. When you are deleted the application, or when your container die, or your container you can create anytime, delete destroy at any point of time. So what will happen? The application storage is lost because the default volume is what? Empty directory. Storage is ephemeral. So how to configure in OpenShift a persistent storage? Like the now in OpenShift 4 version, it is supported various container runtime initiative. Similarly, it will supported various container storage initiative. You have to configure either GlusterFS storage, SAFe storage, or your iSCSI storage, or if you are deploying on AWS, you can use the Elastic Block storage. If you are deploying on the OpenStack cloud, you can use the Cinder storage. You can configure a persistent storage to provide your application the permanent storage, because by default when the container die, the storage get deleted. There is no storage, you cannot retrieve or recover the data. But while you are deploying one database application, so it is required the data. If data is lost, then is a problem. So how you have to configure the storage, that we have to going to discuss in our day one schedule. Okay, how to give the persistent storage to your containerized application manually or dynamically, dynamic provision of storage, and how we are exposing our application outside the OpenShift cluster, how to configure routing layer. Inside the cluster, there is a component service will manage, load balance all the application running inside your worker node. But outside the cluster, How I have to expose my application outside the cluster, how to configure the routing layer, how I have to ingress the route or egress the route, that all we have to cover in the OpenShift networking. Okay, and you can run your OpenShift in any environment, either in the physical machine, virtual machine, or any public and private cloud based instance. Okay, so these are the component, and I just make a differentiate between the OpenShift 3 version and OpenShift 4 version. OpenShift 3 we are running on the top of the atomic host, or you can say Red Hat Enterprise Linux, but it is replaced by Red Hat Core OS in OpenShift Platform 4. It is the system containers. It's replaced by the Red Hat Core OS. Now, what is Core OS? We just understand, yes, master node is running on Core OS, but what exactly that core operating system? You people are familiar with Ubuntu, CentOS, or Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7, 6, 5, or 8. Okay, but what exactly this Red Hat Core OS? It is a container Linux. Means what? Yes. What you imagine? What exactly Core OS? So because my master node component must be run on Red Hat Core OS. So I must have to know what exactly the Core OS. Yes, yes, Mahesh, I won't expect answer that what you understood. Or anyone else, please. What exactly Red Hat Core OS? Yes.
This is optimized for containers.
Yes. Okay.
Red
So
Hat
it
Core
is a, yes, it is a optimized for container. It is a container Linux is an open source lightweight operating system based on Linux kernel and designed for providing infrastructure to cluster deployment while focusing on automation and ease of application deployment, security, reliability, and scalability. So container in the traditional distribution, when the package is unused software, that leads to dependency conflict and it will needlessly increase the attack surface. But once you are using the core operating system, it runs most of the cloud provider, virtualization platform, and bare metal server. Core OS also support the container runtime, all of the popular method of running container. Okay, you can use it is supported by the core operating system, and you can choose to interact with the containers at low level or to use the high level of orchestration work like your Docker, Rocket, Drawbridge, Alexi, Podman. Everything, any container runtime initiative is supported by your Red Hat Core OS. It is a immutable straight jacket. Once it is built, you security is there. Everything is inside the container. It is a straight jacket. You cannot make any changes once it is installed. Once it is installed, you cannot make any changes. Clear? So now one student in the previous training, this he just raised a question. If I don't make any changes, this is my master node, what are the four components are running? One is the API server. It is used for interaction with the user, and it will interact and fetch the status report from each node. Second is controller manager. Third is your scheduler. Fourth one is your etcd. All these static pods are running. It is a straight jacket. I am saying where it is running. What is the operating system? Master node is core OS. Okay, you cannot change. So how we have to make changes? Remember that whatever you are running, let's say you are running API server. You are running API server. API server. Next, you are running all the resource definition you are storing here. That is nothing but your etcd. Third one is your scheduler. Scheduler will decide. Okay, scheduler just decide, not place the pods in the nodes. Okay, scheduler. Next is what? your control manager. Next is what? You can say controller or control manager. So these all 4 components are running on the control plane components, and the 2 daemon is running. What are the 2 daemon is running? One is kubelet, second one is what? Cryo. So these 2 are what? Your core operating system, your etcd. If I don't make any changes, how I have to do? Core operating system, it is a container Linux. Remember that this etcd API server, these are nothing but one container. These are nothing but one static pod. What is static pod? I have to elaborate in more in our training session. Okay, so these pods are not generated by the Kube API server. It is auto generated by the kubelet. Okay, so people having a mindset that if it is a master node, kubelet is not running in the master node. As per the diagram, kubelet is not running in the master node. But remember that kubelet is an agent that runs on each node. I am not specifying that someone is saying if my master node die, my cluster will not work. That's why in your real time in the production environment, there is a 3 node master. 3 masters are there. If one master goes down, other 2 master will work. And master also, if you are not restricting, we can deploy the application on the master node. And in the core operating system, the 2 service, Unix Linux or Unix likes 2 services are running. One is kubelet, second one is container runtime initiative. -O means open container initiative support. These 2 are running. So it is very secure, less attack surface as compared to your traditional operating system. Clear? So this is the difference between OpenShift 3 platform and OpenShift 4 platform. Next to that, next difference is Docker. Okay, we can manage with the Docker registry, but when we are switches to the CRY means OpenShift Container Platform 4, CRYO is the default container runtime on the 4.x version onwards, and Red Hat CoreOS, it will run on the Red Hat CoreOS operating system as well, sometime before I said, and Red Hat Enterprise Linux also gives support. Like you can run like your Docker, you can run freely your Podman tool. Okay. Next is we can discuss what is DNS mask, what is external etcd node, and now this time etcd is mandatory inside our master node, inside our cluster, not external etcd node we have to configure. So earlier we are using the cockpit, but now it is replaced with the QA registry. So there are some earlier we have to configure some monitoring tool, install the metric subsystem manually. At the after the time of installation, we can configure to check the health of our cluster, to check the health of our node. But in Red Hat OpenShift 4, it is coming at the time of installation inbuilt. Okay, that is nothing but Prometheus monitoring tool is auto inbuilt with the OpenShift 4 distribution. And this is nothing but the architectural things and all the small idea you get today, not in depth. We have to discuss more in our course curriculum. What are the advantage, what exactly pod is. Okay, so I just mentioned the training schedule in front of you. So where is that? Yes. So Red Hat OpenShift course, if before you are joining 280, you must have prerequisites. You know the basics of containers. If you are not exposed to Docker and containers, I have to share a recording video session, or you have to sit in my RHEL 8 container class. Those who are not exposed to containers, because prerequisites for DO 280. If you directly sit on DO 280 course, bit confusion start. What is Docker? What is registry? What is Podman? What is Scopio? What is container image? What is deploying application? So the course, prerequisite courses, including your Red Hat certified system administrator course, all the fundamentals of Linux, you have to know the basics of containers. Okay, if you are not exposed to that, prior to that we are conducted your before your training schedule, we are delivering a training of basics of containers, how to use the Podman tool, what is registry server, all these things we have to cover within 4 hours. Okay, so the course, if you want to join for the course code is DO 180. Next is we have to discuss DO 280 is our course curriculum of 3 days of training. This is nothing but operating a production Kubernetes cluster. Here we are going to discuss about the architecture of OpenShift and elaborate each resource component of OpenShift resources. Next to that, we have to cover the storage management. We have to cover the authentication, dynamic storage, static storage management, authentication and authorization. Authentication means you have to use some token to log into the cluster, and once you log into the cluster, what you are authorized to do, what is user, what is group. If like in your Linux you are understanding the admin user, you know the sudo user, you know the application user or system user or regular user. So in OpenShift, how many types of user are there, what is their role in the cluster. If I am saying that auto scaling and auto healing feature is available with the help of Kubernetes orchestration and management tool, so if auto scaling is available, can I create 100 nodes in the cluster? No. How I will restrict? What is the security type? That also we have to cover in the DO 280 course module. We are discussing more about the networking. What is the traditional networking or Docker networking, and how it is differ from your OpenShift networking is software defined networking, how the service will do the load balancing, and what is how to configure the route and secure route to expose your application outside your cluster. That we have to cover in the networking part. And how the scheduler, we just understand scheduler will decide where your application will run, containerized application. Your pod is running on which node, scheduler will decide. But how the scheduler will decide? What are the resources, what are the memory allocation, what is the CPU. Okay, so how I have to manage the quota for my project, how I limit the resource access. So all the things we have to discuss in the pod scheduling chapter in the DO 280 DO 280 course. Beyond to that, if you want to work on OpenShift, you have to learn the development 2 course. Now, next to that, if you want to learn about the installation, I want to learn about the installation, because various kinds of installation now OpenShift is available. Either you install in your personal laptop with the code ready container, or you can use the bare metal installation, or you can use the KVM, or you are using the AWS installation. So there is a separate course is designed. Two types of installation method they are elaborating. One is the UPI method, user provision infrastructure from the scratch, how you have to do the installation. Okay, then another one is what, UPI method. Second one is the IPI method, infrastructure provision installation. How you have to, everything is ready. You have to like all the skeleton is ready. You have to put your value and install it. Okay, that is called the infrastructure provision installation. That will cover in the module DO 322. Okay, and if you elaborate scaling your application, machine set you have to learn, service mesh networking, then DO 380. Okay, development
Madam,
two
can you
course.
remove the topic, madam? Say there is some dot AA or D. Can you remove
Okay,
the part from there?
delete this one. Is it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
correct.
fine. Thank you. So next is the Red Hat OpenShift Development 3 course, that is the DO 380. Okay, so if you want to just make a search in your Google, okay, let me close this one. What are the course curriculum or course content? How you come to know DO 280? Suppose this is the administrator course. Okay, DO 280. Okay, so what is this course content? You just click on DO 280 in your browser and just go to the course description. Okay, and what is the prerequisite, everything they mention. This is our topic of discussion in DO 280. But prior to that, I have to know DO 180. If you are not exposed to 180, that course is also available. Okay, and also certification. If you don't do certification, not mandatory, but basics of containers you have to know to make means comfortable in the DO 280 training. Okay, so not this one, DO 28, DO 180, this one. Okay, so basics of containers, how I run, what is image, what is registry. Okay, understand the container and OpenShift architecture, create a container image, create the containerized services. Okay, what is Docker, what is Podman. Okay, how to run a container, how to push to the registry, how to create a container image from the Docker file, what are the component, what is the basic architecture and component, how the OpenShift is differ from the Kubernetes. Okay, so what are the advantages? I can say that yes, instead of learning Kubernetes, why I have to learn OpenShift, what are the feature that you will cover. Let's say I am saying some of the tool. OpenShift adds support for the developer tools such as SCM, source control management. OpenShift have built-in integration with the SCM software like Git. Second, OpenShift has built in with the pipelines that help the developer to rapidly and consistently develop and build and test the deployment application. OpenShift help to manage the container runtime images by providing built-in registry. The built-in registry, now we are using the QA registry. Okay, OpenShift come with the support of software-defined networking. OpenShift is API centric. So much more difference you can learn in the basic of why OpenShift. Okay, so these all are elaborate in the DO 180 course. So once you plan for Red Hat OpenShift, no, I have to join this DO 280 training. How Mitali is helping? So what I have to do before I am starting the 3 module of training, I have to cover. You join or not join, you have to know what is container. So you must, I have to cover this part. Okay, what is containers, basics of containers. Okay, we are sharing the recording to all of you before joining the DO 280. No, if you want to join the course not separately, this is a 5 days of training. One each DO 180 2 days, DO 280 3 days, and the course code is what? DO 285. Okay, so this way the training will be conducted, and the last day we have to conduct a exam orientation session. Regarding to your lab, you can practice now. The OpenShift installation is required a huge amount of resources, and this is a separate topic. It is not included in your DO 280 module. So for that, they are providing the lab. Okay, and once you enrolled for this course, you are getting a book soft copy. Okay, you are getting this book PDF. So this all lab are the practical, because Red Hat exam is scenario based exam, not the multiple choice question. So they are giving the inbuilt lab, while at the time of training you can practice with the trainer and ask the doubts. Okay, or else I am giving you the lab completion time. Once you understood the concept, you have to do the particular lab. I have to do from my end and explain the lab, so that you can comfortably understand. Okay, these are the lab, you have to read the question and do the answer. If you are doing all the lab and guided exercise, then definitely within 7 days of practice you can do your certification easily. If you are doing your practice session after the training of 3 days is done, you are getting a 90 days of lab, 80 hours 90 days of lab. So you can practice from your end, including a video classroom from a Red Hat trainer. Like any other course also, OpenShift also they are giving the lab 80 hours 90 days lab. So you can utilize that lab properly and do your certification, because all the labs you have to complete to be certified in this DO 280 course curriculum. Okay, so this is the training. Okay, and this is the prerequisites for this training, and you have to get your lab and books once you registered from you with your copyright. Your name is copyright version of book you can download, and you can practice with me in the training session. After the training session, you can ask and clarify your doubts, and do a practice. If 80 hours lab is available, I just wait. 365 days is available for my certification. Don't wait, go for the advanced things what is coming in OpenShift. Okay, because OpenShift is now boom in the market, if I can say. Okay, Lot of recruitment are going on. Even if our organization also hiring this OpenShift people, once your training is done, you have to join our OpenShift group, where all the 100 students who are certified and took training under me are on that group. You have to make a discussion every day, some assignment, so that way you can in touch with this technology, means a real time environment examples if you need to attach yourself. That's all about this session. Any queries you can ask me.
Madam, what about the monitoring part, madam? Monitoring the CPU, memory, that is one part. Other part is what about log analysis? Suppose there is an issue where we have to go and see the logs and analyze. And sometimes
We
Kibana logs we can observe.
Yes, you are using what, Kibana? Given it's Kibana. So
Yeah,
now
Kibana.
I'm saying monitoring tool Prometheus Grafana is already pre-installed. Okay, log monitoring tool is installed by default at the time of OpenShift installation. Okay, so if you are using other monitoring tools also, you can configure externally. Okay, in your infra node.
Okay, so I have a
Uh,
question.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I mean, this is intense. Is it possible you guys give the entire schedule for all of this program that you have, so that one can take it one after the other? You see, the reason why I'm interested in OpenShift is the fact that yeah, a lot of cloud native deployment is happening in my organization, and then yes, we got stuff deployed for OpenShift, where you have deployment based on cloud native anyway. So is it possible to give me that I can start with DO 180, do this and do that, instead of just jumping into OpenShift 280? Yes, I can do it, but it's going to be very intense because I have to read a lot.
Yes, definitely you can. I can put a point here. First is your RSCSA that you have already. Okay. Next is your RSCE. If you do, if you don't do, no problem at all. RS certified, Red Hat certified engineer is the automation management tool set. Ansible you have to learn. If you want to interested in the automation tool set, then you can do that course. But after your RSCSA, you have to, in RSCSA course, containers are included right now in RHEL 8. I can show you the book course curriculum, okay, that I have with me. Like your DO 180 280, the EX200 is RH 199. And if you are not doing also the 180 course, the RHEL 8 running containers is there. What exactly container is from the scratch? I am just explaining the container as a operating system perspective, system administrator perspective, what the problem will happen while you are using the RPM packaging application, and what exactly container compared to the virtual machine, what is your podman. Okay, this is completed on your RHEL 8. Okay, because RHEL students are 8 students are already here. Okay, included in your RHEL 8 course. No, if you want to directly start from scratch of OpenShift, then your course is what? DO 180. The course is what? This is a 5 days of training, 180 and 280. 5 days. Here you have to complete introduction container technology, creating the containerized services. You have to create a database server from a container image, like you are using the docker run command. We are using the podman tool here. Then you have to managing the container. Okay, how to stop, how to remove a image, how to execute a container, how to get inside the container, what is the networking we have to cover here. Managing the container image with export, how to pull the image. Okay, local repository, what is a private registry, public registry. I have to connect to my CentOS machine also. I will demonstrate that part. Creating the container image, how to create the image. As a beginner, I have to create a Docker file. That also you have to cover, create the container image. Next, basics of OpenShift, how it is different from the Kubernetes architecture of OpenShift and container platform. Next, we have to run multiple containers. Okay, in a pod, how I have to run two different container image, two container, how I can run troubleshooting part. Then we have to complete this much. Comprehensive review is your study. This is the 180. Okay. Next is, once you are familiar with all the basics of containers and Kubernetes, you are registering for the course DO 280. No,
Okay.
180, 280 together. Then 285 course you have to register of 5 days of training. Here you have to again, you have to elaborate the declarative architecture. What is static pod? What are the Kubernetes resources is working? How to verifying what is storage you have to cover here. Next, we have to cover the authentication and authorization. As I said, role-based access thing. And as per our curriculum, this is another 8 chapter, another 3 days of training. Okay. So you just plan accordingly. And what is your destination? I just share all my slides, notes. Okay. As a reference note, you can download the book PDF when once you registered from your own ROL portal. Okay, you are getting everything from Red Hat directly. You are getting your exam link, all sort of things from Red Hat. Okay, not included mind training. You are getting the Red Hat trainer virtual classroom also. Anytime,
Okay.
if you have any doubt in any topic, you can listen the recording. Once this 2 module done, then you have to, if you are interested in the development line or installation, no exam is there. Installation is 4.6 version. Okay, but rest all are certification exams and training are given by COS or by Red Hat as well, because 380 training is not given by COS, and rest of the training are given by the COS.
Okay.
But don't put all the things in one plate. Just start slowly. Basics of containers, then operating a production Kubernetes cluster. Then
Yeah,
you move to it.
yeah, that's all right. That's fantastic. Thanks for that. But I noticed that DO 180 is much elaborate than what you have in RHC.
Yes,
RH,
yes.
yeah, it's much
Yes,
more
RHL
elaborate.
8 is just because there is this means I can say fresher candidates are joined for the enterprise Linux fundamentals. If we put all the things, how they appear the exam is also heavy. Containers questions are coming, but yes, the basics are covered, but they are not creating the container image. Okay, they are just deploying the application. They exposed to the tool Podman and what is container they understand. Okay, they are not exposed to the creating the image, deploying the application, what are the
Okay.
problem in the containers or Docker, why I have to learn the OpenShift and Kubernetes, what is the use of high availability, or these things are included in your 180 course curriculum.
Okay, I'm just thinking maybe I should do what I'm doing right now. Start
Yep.
off with
You
upgrade the RHCE, and then do DO 180, and then I can move to DO 280.